Welcome to part 3 of every goalie's mask worn this season, 2022 and 23, ranked from worst to best, based on my humble opinion. The masks that I think look better than the others, I will rank higher. And we are at number 175, and so let's just get right into it right now. 175, I have VEJMELKA's Space Coyote mask, and there is a little bit of genericness to it, and I know I use that word a lot, generic. Usually I'm using that in reference to when logos that are already established as the main logo or a side logo, when they're just kind of plopped onto a mask. Like here you've got the Space Coyote logo turned to the side, plopped on there, and so I kind of use the word generic to describe that because there's not a new design going on. Like you can think of something like maybe Patrick Lalim's Penguins mask. They actually designed a penguin for that. Or, well, this doesn't have to do with the exact team necessarily because he used it for a bunch of different teams. But Curtis Joseph's Cujo dog masks where the mouth wraps around the face area, those are amazing, very much not generic. So when I'm using the word generic, I usually am using it in terms of like putting a logo on instead of redesigning something. Or, you know, anyway, I kind of use it in those contexts. But here, there is very good design elements in the Kachina. I do really like that. I think that's well done. And normally I'm a little critical on negative space, or I guess just kind of maybe more empty space, not really negative space, but empty space on the top especially. So for this instance, that whole purple part I would kind of count as kind of like the empty space of the helmet, but I think here it's done well, and I think it works well here, and that's why it's ahead of a lot of the other ones, because the design around what I might call generic is really well done, and they use the purple well in the empty space, especially for something that has the Space Coyote on it. Purple goes well with the Space Coyote logo, and so I think they did a good job there. And so yeah, we're getting into more satisfactory masks. I'll explain that in a little bit because I don't think we're quite there yet, but we're getting into it at this point. 174, I have Alex Stalock's Native American Night mask, and you know, they call it different things throughout the league depending on where it is. The Indigenous Celebration Nights. I'm not sure what they call it in each place, but here I guess they call it Native American Night. And so that's what I'm going to call it here. That's why it's labeled like that. And I do like it. There's a little bit of a kind of, I don't know, basicness to it, I guess I could say. Whereas it kind of looks like a white mask and then you've kind of drawn with Sharpie on it. But the drawings, I think, are pretty good. I do like the arrows that go around, and so I do have it here at 174. 173, another one that I would say, yes, generic, but one that really shines well. It's got a lot of pop to it. You'll see in the future some really good SILYA designs. SILYA does very good work, and I've been very impressed by her work that I've seen over the course of going through all these masks. And so this is a lower end one from her, but even then, even though this is kind of generic, like it still shines well, it still looks pretty good, and so I actually do have it all the way at 173, as basic as it may be. 172, I've got Charlie Lindgren's Stadium Series mask, and he's got a few different things that are similar to this. He's got that kind of zigzaggy design, but I'm not as big on this. I like that there's something going on, but again, it just, I don't know, there's just something that doesn't really do it for me, especially when I see his other masks, and just the way he does the colors are a little bit better on those ones, in my opinion. And so as we, you know, move on, we'll see a couple more that look very, very similar to this and just have a bit of different colors. But this one I think is the lesser of them, and so I have it here at 172. One thing I will say though, I love, and this I won't say for every one of them because you won't be able to see it in every one, I just happen to have a picture of it here. But I love his pad setup. That just looks so clean. The pads and the blocker look awesome with the Weagle there. And if he had done something to that effect a little bit more so on his mask, I would have had that really high up. That looks so clean and so nice. But it looks a little bit, I don't know, dirtier on the mask, and just the way it's more of a sketch kind of design, and so, yeah, I don't know. You see a lot of that kind of sketch type design with Dave Art as well, and as I've mentioned before, I feel like, again, he's done so many masks that he can't give as much kind of proper attention to certain ones, and so you don't see as amazing of designs in some of the lower ones. But he does still, again, have some very good masks that we will see in the future. Absolutely. He's done some really awesome work for sure. But I feel like he's stretched a little bit too thin with some of what he does. So yeah, but I do have it here at 172. Still decent, but we're going better. We're getting better after this. 171, I got Swayman's Paw Prints mask. Not big on the Bruins wordmark kind of logo going down the sides. I've mentioned that in past videos as well, that I'm not a big fan of wordmark logos just kind of going down the side of the mask. There are exceptions, but here it kind of hurts it a little bit, I think. I don't know. Maybe, maybe not. But I do like certain things about it. I like that there's a couple little things about the city of Boston that's on here. The paw prints are an alright touch as well. And so there are things that bring it up, but overall, not my most favorite of masks by any means at all. 170, I've got Eric Comrie's White Buffalo mask. It's decent, but I feel like this one's actually kind of busy. Like, you look at the sides, the one side's got like kind of half a buffalo that all of a sudden turns into kind of like a, I don't know, heartbeat monitor or whatever it is over the words buffalo. It seems kind of busy. The other side, you've got, you know, the buffalo text that you see on some of the, you've seen it on an old jersey of theirs at least, but it's kind of that wordmark logo. And it's all right, but it feels like the back part of it is there's maybe some kind of like white background on it that doesn't allow it to stand out as much, which is kind of an odd thing. And so it just feels really, really kind of busy. One thing I'll say is that I do appreciate the Leaping Buffaloes. I talk about, you know, generic stuff and just plopping a logo on there. One thing that actually looks good with generic plopping a logo, I guess, if you want to call it that, buffaloes. I do like how they put the white buffaloes on there. I think they look good like that. And so that's a good step in the right direction. That keeps it a little higher than it might otherwise be, which is a weird thing to keep higher, as I've talked about, oh, generic this whole time, but well, I don't mind this. I don't mind this. And so again, what beats out generic in my lists is, well, I like the way it looks. So yeah, that's what I'm going with here anyway. 169, I have Magnus HELLBERG's The Trooper. Not a big fan of the Ottawa Senators logo in the kind of eye places. But overall, a pretty good mask. I just think it's down a little bit further because it very much seems like Jonathan Quick's type of mask. It's very similar, and I just think that Jonathan Quick's are better, and you'll see those in the future videos. I don't know if we actually get to one of Jonathan Quick's in this one. I don't think so. I think it's a little higher up. So with that, and it's just like I think it's a poorer design of that kind of Jonathan Quick's mask style. And so it's down here a little bit further. And again, not big on the Ottawa Senators logos in the eyes. I get that it's like, yeah, he's on the Ottawa Senators. We should put that somewhere. I don't think you need that, though, honestly. You know, the guy is literally wearing an Ottawa Senators jersey. You know what team he's on. And so, I don't know. I know you want it to represent the Ottawa Senators in some way, but I don't know if putting the Senators logos kind of in the eye area there is the best way to do it. That's my opinion, though. 168, I got Jet GREAVES Civil War mask, and yeah, I like the blue kind of logos on the side. I know I talked about generic, but to me that's not as much generic, and I think it really pops with that blue, that shade of blue. And I love the silhouettes that are over top of them. The cannon and the soldiers especially, make it really nice. And so, even though I've mentioned before as well that I'm not a big fan of the Columbus Blue Jackets primary logo, and you see that 3 times on this mask, I think the rest of it actually is pretty good. And so I have it here at 168. I like the banner, and of course, like I said, the silhouettes are very awesome, and the shade of blue with those logos that are kind of put on there. Good stuff from Jet GREAVES, whoever designed his mask. I'm not sure of all the designers. I couldn't find all the designers of each mask. But yeah, good stuff from whoever designed this. 167, David Rittick. He has his reverse retro mask. And yeah, it's a lot better again than what we saw from him before, which is his main one. Still, you know, there is this sense of generic, you know, you're plopping logos on the side, but I think this one, again, just looks a lot sharper than the other ones. So it is lower because, again, you do see that it's kind of generic, but it's higher than some of the other generic ones that I've been talking about a lot. I got a comment that was like, yeah, I got a comment that was like, man, generic? Well, what did it say? Here I am. Here I'm gonna go and look stuff up while I'm actually talking to you. Is that a bad thing? I don't know. I don't know. I'm just gonna look. This is in real time, guys. This is in real time. But he basically just said that, actually I've got it here. Why are these goalie masks so generic? That was the title of my last video. And he's like, he kind of quotes that, and then he's like, it's pictures of custom artwork. Okay? And it's like, yeah, that's the thing. Just because something is custom artwork doesn't mean it's not generic, right? And so it can look good. In this case, the kind of generic sense of it looks good. I think it works well. In other cases, obviously, as I've said many times before, it doesn't look as bad. So sometimes generic is not a bad thing, but usually in my books, especially when I'm ranking every single mask worn this season, it is kind of a bad thing in a lot of cases. One other thing that I don't like as much, and I mentioned it last video, is again, here we see that kind of like stamping or stenciling, or I'm not even sure what it is, of like the Winnipeg Jets logo. Last time it was the Blues logo. This time it's like the Winnipeg Jets logo. It's all over the middle part of the mask. It's like, I don't know why you do that. Not a big fan of that kind of stuff. I don't know. To me, it's not that great of a thing, and I think it would be nicer. I do like at this point, though, the little tiny jets that are kind of stamped throughout the middle part. I think that looks good. It gives a nice shine to it in this case, but I feel like you just got to use different things like this in the right contexts. I think last video, or maybe it was the video before, I mentioned how I wasn't as big of a fan of it on Freddie Anderson's mask when there was like little tiny hurricane circles. But here on the Jets thing, I actually like it. So yeah. 166, I got Samsonov. One thing I'm not a big fan of is the number on the chin. I think it looks very army, or very like on the street as well. It could be that, you know, like how they, you know, paint the streets and there's numbers on there. Anyway, not huge on that. The Maple Leafs name coming down on the sides, I actually don't mind it that much in this case. I think it's not bad, and so it's a little bit higher. I do like the big maple leaf on the front. I like the design of that. I don't think it's very generic. I think it's a different, nice kind of way to do it, and so I like that. And so yeah, I don't mind this really that much. So it's here at 166. 165, I have, I believe, another Toronto Maple Leaf. Kind of. Yeah, it's Jett Alexander. So in a way, it's a Toronto Maple Leafs mask. I mean, he was, you know, the game that he was credited as playing was for the Toronto Maple Leafs. The mask is the University of Toronto mask, and there's a maple leaf on it. Actually, even on the chin, it looks like there's some Maple Leafs stuff as well in a Toronto style. Although, actually, it's probably just a blue version of that same leaf on the University of Toronto getting zoomed into a little bit. But I like it. I think it's nice that there's stuff going on here. There's that brick wall kind of background to it. There's a mascot, even though it's like a direct, literal picture of him and it's not really as much artwork. I still like that. I like that little skyline area, just stylized skyline right above the mascot there. And yeah, I mean, you got the University of Toronto. I'm not sure what you call that exactly, if it's a coat of arms or what it is, but kind of that, I don't know. It almost looks like an Ivy League logo, or maybe it's just the university logo, or crest. That's the word. It's a crest, isn't it? That's what you call it. So anyway, me explaining myself a lot here and trying to find words. But yeah, crest, I would say. I like that too. So on 164, I've got Devon Levi's Buffalo Lightning mask. Apparently, and I saw this just recently, and he never wore it in game, but apparently, and it's really cool, he had a mask where he just kind of Sharpied the entire thing quickly because he didn't have a black mask for when he was backing up, I believe, Craig Anderson during a game where they were wearing their black alternate jerseys, the, you know, what people are always called the, oh, what is it? Now I can't even remember. My brain is kind of going. I always call it, oh, the goat head. Yeah, I always call it the buffalo head because I don't think it looks like a goat. But the goat head, everyone calls it that, so that's what it's kind of known as. The goat head, right? And so anyway, yeah, he was backing up for that one, and he drew, like, with Sharpies, some lightsabers on it, drew some black all over, and just made a kind of cool design. But he never did get to wear it, so this is the Devon Levi mask that we're going to look at during this series. And it's not bad. I think there's too much, again, empty kind of space at the top. It's helped a little bit by, you know, the peeling away of, I don't know, paper or wallpaper or whatever, revealing, you know, some yellow on there. That's a decent touch. You can see that kind of on the sides as well. But again, I think there's still too much empty space up there. And yeah, I mean, the lightning is a good touch, but in general, not the greatest of the great masks. Even though, again, when you're talking about generic logo plopping, Buffalo is one that does that pretty well. So I do like the white Buffalo on this side. 163, I've got Anton Forsberg. He's got his dog in cartoon form on there. He's got his kids on there, which is a nice touch. And so that brings it up. There's a little bit more design going on to it. And I mean, yeah, I like the design of the dog a little bit better than I like the design of that otter. But anyway, that's just personal, you know, I mean, yeah. So it's decent, right? It's good. I mean, I like the number on the front as well. I think that's the kind of a cool design, even though it's maybe not as original as we see some things similar to that. We've already seen some things similar to that, and we will in the future as well. But I like it. But yeah, mostly what brings this to spot 163 as opposed to lower down is the personal touches of his children and his dog that are made on there. And you'll see them again, actually. Forsberg's not done. 162, I've got Ville Husso, and I called it here generic wings, but I have since found out that this is actually a throwback to Mike Vernon. So I should not have called this generic wings. I should have called it Mike Vernon throwback, as that's what it is. And I do quite like it. I like the wings on the sides. Just that texture of Red Wings on the sides. I just think that's awesome. The one thing that I'm not a big fan of, and this goes for, you know, back in Mike Vernon's day too, is the winged wheel in the middle. I don't mind that, but the wings that come off of it, I just think look odd. And so I love the number being on the top. I think that's cool. But the wings themselves on the middle wheel is kind of what gets me. It just kind of looks, I don't know. And so just because it's a throwback, again, like we learned in episode 1 or whatever with Marc-Andre Fleury, just because something is a throwback doesn't necessarily mean it's going to rank very highly. I do love that he threw back to it, so obviously there's no blame on Husso or his designer or anything, because that's what he was going for completely, and that's awesome. It's just that the original design I did not personally like that much, although I know that there's probably a lot of Wings fans, like the guy that brought this up to me, that really love it, and that's awesome. You know, you got maybe some nostalgia there, or maybe you just really like the design in general, and that's all good. For me, it's at 162. 161, I got Gustafsson's Wild away mask, and can I explain this much? Why this is higher than some of the other ones? It's just that I like it. I just like the colors. I like the design. Red and green should never be seen, should never be said, in my opinion. And I really like the old Wild text, you know. And so, again, this is one of those things that's like, yeah, it's generic, but I like it still. I still like it. And there's an even better version of this to come as well. But I just like it, okay? I just like it. That's what I'm going for. I just like the mask. So, yeah. Even though it's kind of that generic old logo that came in when they were just coming into the league in the 2000s. 2000 actually is the year. I still really love that font. And so I'm all about it being on the top. I just like it, okay? I can't explain it much more than that. I just like it. I know it's generic. I just like it. 160, I got Laurent Brossoit, and another one that's kind of generic here, and another one with a bunch of stamps all over it, or I don't know, again, stencils, whatever it is. But I'm just not big on it, on those things being there. But the mask itself, it's good. Like, it's good. the Vegas skyline in there, that helps. The cards on there, it just helps make it less generic than it otherwise would be. I still called it generic Vegas because there is still some kind of, I don't know if it's even that much generic. It's not too bad. I mean, you got the Vegas logos on the side. That's basically why I called it that, I'm guessing. But yeah, for the most part, it's actually pretty decent. And so, yeah, I don't mind it too much. 159, I've got Georgiev's, another one that, oh, maybe you call generic because they just took that C logo and plopped it on the side. But I like the mountain aspect. I like the colors, obviously. And so, yeah, I'm giving it a good grade anyway. The thing that also brings it down, though, other than it just being kind of C's plopped on the side, the other thing that kind of brings it down again is that kind of negative, I always say negative space. It kind of is that, though. The empty white kind of space on the top. Not huge on that, but, I mean, it does work for these kind of things. Because, yeah, what are you going to put over top of the mountains there, right? You know, so it makes sense, but, yeah, I'm just putting it at this spot because of it a little bit. 158, and this is where we really get into the satisfactory masks. The masks that, if I got a design like this, I would be totally satisfied. I'd be like, this is pretty good. Yeah, I'll wear this. And so we're really into the masks that I'd be satisfied with when we get to this Korpisalo point. He's kind of the jumping point for that, and kind of the benchmark that I used when I was ranking things against it. Would I be satisfied with this, or would I not? Corpy was kind of the benchmark for that, and so I do really like it. I love the text on the chin that says Corpy. I think that's great. I love the palm trees in silver. I believe this is another Sila brush design, and again, she does a really good job at different things like this. But again, there's not too much going on, but enough that I would say, yeah, I'm satisfied. Like, this is a good mask. This is a good mask. Is there maybe a bit much with the LA Kings logo plopped on top? I don't know, maybe, but again, that's just my thing where I guess I prefer masks that are more creative in what they do rather than just putting logos on. But this one, again, it's more creative in the sense that there's palm trees, there's the Corpy thing on the bottom, so it definitely helps it out, and I do quite like it. 157, I have Brian Elliott's lightning palm mask. I love how the palm tree goes into being lightning, basically, right? Like, that's what it is. And there's a little bit of a Felix Potvin kind of vibe that I get a little bit from this. Same kind of colors almost, right? As everyone complains, oh, the Lightning are basically just the exact same as the Maple Leafs, which I get that complaint. Like, the jersey colors are the same, right? And so there is validity to that complaint. But I just think of that, like, yeah, I see it very much even in this mask. Like, obviously there's lightning bolts on it that tells you it's the Lightning. Obviously on the jersey logo there's a lightning bolt that tells you this is the Lightning team playing. But still, there's still so much vibe that I get, like, oh, Felix Potvin. So yeah, but anyway, good mask. Good mask. I'm making this video way longer than it should be, but good mask for sure. And yeah, Sila brush, again, a very well stylized thing. And the reason that this is lower is because there are actually very similar ones to this that Brian Elliott has used throughout the season that I think are better. So I like Brian Elliott's other stuff a little bit better, and we'll be seeing that very shortly. So yeah, 156, I've got Jiri Patera's Golden Knights mask. And yeah, you might say, oh, this is just another generic thing. Yeah, and they just placed the logo on top. I think it looks really good. There's one thing about the Vegas Golden Knights logo is I feel like it actually looks like it's a logo that looks very good just plopped right on the top. And so I actually like the look of this. And there's other elements too that help bring it up as well, right? You know, you got a tiny little city skyline, you got those numbers on the front that are actually interesting. So I think that's cool. They're a little bit, they're not like numbers that really pop out at you at all, but I feel like there's a nice subtlety to them that I actually quite like. And, you know, you got the Vegas sign and different things. I'm not sure exactly if that is the cross on the side there. I'm not sure exactly what that is, but I don't know if it's a cross, if it's not. Like, either way, it's a decent touch. But But yeah, I mostly just have this high because I actually just feel like it looks nice the way the top logo pops on the mask. I don't know, I just like it. That's gonna be my excuse for a lot of these masks. I don't know. I just like it. I looked at this and I looked at the other masks that were behind it, and I said I like this better. But one mask that I said I liked better than this at 156 is 155, which is just another slightly better logo of Vegas plopped on top thing. But this time it has two swiping swords that come down. Love that. I actually like the way it says Vegas across the front. I know it's kind of one of those word mark things, but I just like how prominent the G is, and I just feel like it kind of looks nice and works well there. And so, I don't know, again, am I going to explain myself of every detail of why I think it looks better than the others? Not really, because I would be doing myself a disservice at that point, because if you're looking at it as like, oh, which details are better, or which is this is better, it's like, well, that's not really what puts it here. It's just the overall look of it. I just kind of like. 154, I've got the other university mask, Matt Berlin, the emergency goalie Matt Berlin from the University of Alberta. And so this is not really an Oilers mask. It's not an Oilers mask, really. It's not at all an Oilers mask. He just wore it for the Oilers. But it is very much an Edmonton mask. It's an Edmonton mask. And so, yeah, there's that. The University of Alberta. But, yeah, I just, again, like kind of the style of it, the way it looks, the elements of University of Alberta, their logo and stuff like that. Yeah, I don't know. Again, how do I explain myself? It looks good. It looks good. 153, I got Stuart Skinner's cogwheel, and this one I like a lot better because it's not using that word mark on the side like Jack Campbell's did. I know I've seen the comment, there's already a big fan of, I love Jack Campbell's mask, and that's awesome, and that's really awesome, and I like that you like it. But I don't know, for me, this is the superior one. And yeah, I like the cogs on the side. I know that's a little bit generic as well. I like the oil drops on the top, how there's more of them, and that's basically the same as, I know, it's basically the same as Campbell, but there's a little more to it, and I actually like the more drops as well. And again, there's not that Oilers stuff on the side, the Oilers word mark logo on the side, and I think that really helps it be more of its own thing. Even though there is, again, a little bit of that generic look to it in a sense, I still like the design, and I do like those oil drops at the top in the way that they are. I know it seems like a pretty poor explanation when I'm trying to compare this to Jack Campbell's, and this is a lot higher than Jack Campbell's. But again, it's just, there's just something about this look, and those are the type of words that I'm using to try and explain it. But there are things as well that I just feel like I can't explain, that I just feel like it just looks better in this version. I just think it looks better on not on Stuart Skinner's mask. Well, in a way. But I just think Stuart Skinner's mask in general does a better job at certain things and just pops a little more and just looks a little better. So yeah, I'm just losing myself in my explanations here, but again, this is where I have it, and I like the look of it a lot better than I do like Jack Campbell's and the other ones that were previous. I do like it better. 152, I've got Phoenix Copley's candy cane mask, and this one is a lot better than the other one. The other one had way too little going for it, whereas the candy canes kind of were the main thing that brought it up a decent amount. This time, of course, the candy canes are going to bring it up quite a bit, but I like the design in general better as well. Yeah, another kind of maybe generic thing, but I think this one has a lot of nice polish to it. I like the curvature of the stripes, and yeah, I don't know. It just is a clean looking mask. Boring, maybe, other than the candy canes, but clean, right? And then to finish this video off, we got number 151, which is the other Brian Elliott mask. And actually, there's another one after this as well. But this one, again, I like it better than the other one. I feel like it looks a little bit more polished, just very clean. And I do like the black lightning a little bit better than the white one. Personal taste. I do love the extra lightning coming off the flames as well. I think that's kind of cool. The only thing I'd say about this is, again, we have kind of a interesting thing where they're just a bunch of little tiny logos in the midst of that palm tree. Not big on that. Not that that really bumped it down almost at all. It's just a little thing that I'm nitpicking against. It's like, I don't know if I'd have that in there. I think it'd look better without. But anyway, still, very good mask. And we are down next video to number 150. And so I'll put it up on here. If, you know, we'll get to that point tomorrow. Once the video is up, it will be here. And you can see it right now if it is up, right, obviously. And so, yeah. Click on that if you want to get taken to the top 150, and I got the playlist here too, so that's good as well, the playlist that it's on. So yeah, overall good stuff, and it's only gonna get better. We're getting into the better stuff. So yeah,